All right, welcome everybody to uh, the 480 call here at the SaaS Alert, SaaS Call. And Jim, we won't put wins of the week on you while you're eating, but I would love to hear from you when you're done digesting there. Just kind of the state of the industry. It was great seeing you at Connect in Vegas, but any different feel or any, there's definitely different energy in the room there. What's the vibe over across the sea, across the pond?
So the vibe was very good. It was probably, I've been to a ton of Kaseya European events, and this was by far the best one. We had about 1,500 customers there, and the keynote and the messaging went great. But more so, I did 15 different customer meetings. It was really encouraging, and I want to actually ask this group to see if they're feeling and hearing the same thing, that those folks were saying that they're definitely sensing a new culture and vibe within Kaseya. One that's more collaborative and community oriented. That came through loud and clear, and we're certainly working really hard internally to be that way, to be seen from the community that way. So I'm, I guess, asking, I think that's a huge win for us because we're trying really hard, and you're going to see more and more of that from us, but it doesn't matter unless you guys are feeling it. So just be honest, like, are you guys sensing the same thing? What we're trying to do is instill a lot of the SaaS alerts culture that you guys have all gravitated to and help build, and bring some more of that type of attitude into Kaseya. So are you sensing it, feeling it? Would love to hear people's perspectives.
Let me just set the stage, Jim. Free MSA for the right answer. Go ahead.
I feel it 100%.
You say 100%, okay?
No, I am noticing my rep left, so I have a new rep after 3 years, and he was the glue that was keeping me at Kaseya. But I have noticed definitely improvements. Certain products or services that are no longer in the annual commitment, like on some backups and stuff. So yeah, I think it's definitely progress. Where it's still, I think, a big issue, concern, difficulty is stuff that gets overbilled, and then, like, now that my rep left, I'm like, guys, he opened tickets since December, and you're asking me to have another meeting because I have a new rep to go over the same thing that was open since December, kind of thing. But in general, I think it's progress in the right direction.
Okay, good feedback. If you ever have any significant issues, Enrique, just let me know, please.
I will. Thanks.
Others. The time.
Oh yeah, it's very apparent. There's executives, mid-management, and account managers that are very focused on making sure things are right. That is a completely different experience than I've had in the past.
Right.
And billing is still too complicated.
No question about it. That was my first meeting of the today.
It's the one I just left.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background work going on there, Andy.
I got Chip doing all the dirty work on that.
Yes.
Although I would say, it is not a Kaseya only problem. Not trying to minimize it. Well, I don't know of a large scale org in our industry, Jim, that isn't struggling some way in that area, and I'm not sure of the reasoning. But it's certainly something I heard and seen often.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's...
I've never had any billing problems with ConnectWise. They're perfect.
That's all about them, Gary. I forgot. You're right. Shoot. Other than ConnectWise.
Bomb thrower.
Um, so
Yeah,
so,
everyone has billing issues, PAX 8, you name it.
yeah.
Jim, I will say that you guys should have been, I would have hoped that Kaseya would have been at Flow because this is really a big deal out here. And I think it's going to be very transformative for our entire industry.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
And I
You know
stayed at your
what's-
condo. I stayed at your townhouse, Jim. It was really lovely. Just so you know.
You're welcome.
Jim, you know
Andy.
what? You know what would be awesome, Jim, is because when I started with Kaseya, when I started the MSP business, they're like, well, I'm like, guys, I don't mind marrying you and living the rest of my life with you. I just cannot guarantee how many endpoints I'm going to have or users. I hope every day we grow and grow and grow and never stop. And they would always tell me, well, you always have the month-to-month option. I go, guys, there's no month-to-month option when it costs 10 times more or 5 times more or 2 times more. So hopefully as you come down to the month-to-month scenarios, the pricing stays competitive. And
Hey, I will say something, Jim, that's really important, and that is we've gotten this great pricing model from Kaseya on K365 user and K365 endpoint. Please don't publish it on the website.
Is it on the website?
It is.
no, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not. I searched.
You want to show Andy just so they know where it is?
I tell you, it's not tough if you just walk through a K365 user, it shows it. And so that is a concern for me if I'm ever being priced out. Does that make sense?
Well, it goes back to everyone's concern about Kaseya selling direct to our customers.
I got you, Andy. I'm sorry, Enrique. Eric, I don't know if you can talk. Being on the boat.
Yeah, I could talk. Just have
Okay.
it's busy here in the harbor. I thought we're gonna get hit.
Oh,
Go ahead.
wait, oh, okay. Yeah, no. So you're the 3 year. Can you I see what you wrote, but can you kind of explain? And Chip just said what do you mean?
Yeah, I meant stop. Sorry. Yeah, the whole 3-year commit. Business is going cycles, right? And so you could be killing it for a couple of years and then have a little bit of a contraction, and now you're overly stressed because you're paying for services that you don't need.
Right. So I think one of the things you're definitely going to see is you're starting to see, but you'll see more of is kind of coming back to Enrique's point. You'll have options, but you have real options that kind of like options that are kind of masked or like that are covered in contingencies. So like the month-to-month option and the year options were never really year options because they were so price prohibitive. I think one of the things you're going to see is that those lower term options, they're definitely going to be higher than the 3-year option, but they'll be a lot more competitive from a pricing standpoint and palatable for the flexibility.
But why
Look
do
forward
they
to that.
have to, Jim? I'm a firm believer, like in my logistics business, we even sometimes offer our own fees for free for them to test us out because we are confident on what we sell and serve. Why? I get it. You want to show forecast, revenue, solid stream, but right now, in our fully managed service that I'm starting to roll out for the first time, I'm not considering K stuff just because of the commit.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather go by CrowdStrike MDR on a month-to-month, things like that, than committing because of the lack of flexibility. And I don't want to wait till it comes. But I do not believe you, if you're, Kaseya has a solid offering. There's no doubt from the endpoint to the user. And it's always getting better. There's always room for improvement, but there should not be that fear. I think your business would grow more, Kaseya's, if they removed that and just gave us the best pricing on month-to-month. Or a year commit, but no volumes, no restrictions. Where if I went from 1,000 to 800 or to 1,200 or 600, you all are good.
We're going to start moving more closely to like what the SaaS source model is, which is you make whatever commitment you feel comfortable with, and then you end up, that is your ultimate commitment. But, if you go over that, then you just kind of grow with us, but you're not required to go, there's no high watermark pricing, so to speak. So, and then I think you're gonna definitely have, like right now, we actually offered month-to-month pricing on Datto BCR boxes, which we've never done before.
Yes.
So we're definitely making strides and concessions on a lot of those areas.
But then there's partners at Kaseya, third-party companies that cater to the MSP industry, that they'll give you the same endpoint price month to month. Obviously, they buy in volume, they represent a big volume amount but if they could do it, why can't Kaseya Direct do it?
So you're talking like a text together?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, because they're actually making a significant commitment to get the price break, and they're just aggregating over a lot of different folks. So it becomes less risky for them to do it that way. And for us, because they made a commitment, a very large commitment.
We'll keep praying for you guys.
Look, nothing happens, overnight, but we're definitely making gradual incremental progress in a number of
And
areas.
we heard you at
Yeah.
Kaseya Connect, and I think that was the most exciting news. Not that there wasn't any other exciting news, there was a lot, but for the community, I think that I felt their foot on the throat. That was like a wow. Is that really happening?
People lit up for that for sure, Enrique. I thought, personally, Gary doing hot ones was the top thing at Connect, Jim. Just sorry.
I would agree, by the way.
I wish it was you, Jim. I'm
I'm
disappointed.
not good with that. I don't know how many I could have got through, to be honest.
You couldn't run the gauntlet.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to tell how hot it really is. Or they could be acting that it's that hot, and it's really not.
He said it was pretty hot,
I
to
know.
say the least.
But I
Couldn't-
don't know if
yeah.
I believe him.
Chip, can you handle the hot stuff?
The hot stuff is in the hot sauce.
Yes. You could you do a 2 million Scoville?
I mean, I've never gone past a limit that I have had a problem with, but I also have never tried to test the extreme limits.
Okay.
But I mean, if I order, any kind of ethnic food that's spiced, it's ordered hot or extra hot.
The Thai, you go all the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me.
All right. Sorry to rail things, Jim. I just took me back there, for a minute.
Yep. Oh, good.
Okay. We're almost a half hour in. We haven't heard a single win from anybody else.
Well, we didn't start with wins yet. So, we just went with Jim's thesis, but now we're ready for wins. Should we start with you, Chip, with your third place finish?
No, we don't. Well, I mean, it doesn't count as a win of the week for the context of this. I mean, a business win for me is we are definitely making progress on the topics that Enrique was bringing up and Eric and others. So I have 3 or 4 calls a week working on specifically the transition away from high watermark pricing, so that people no longer have to continually increase their contract commits just to grow a little bit. That's going to end, and it's going to end relatively soon. So we do hear you loud and clear.
That's awesome. Good. How about some SaaS alerts wins? Anybody have any things to share there? We always know if no news is good news. We get that. But anybody have anything interesting in the world of threat this week? No? Zach, nothing in your world?
Just the same typical stuff we've been seeing.
Yeah. Got it. Same as it ever was.
Yep.
What was the band? What was that band, Chip? You can help me with that.
Andrew.
Talking Heads.
Thank you. Who had what quick note?
I was on a
heard
customer call and they had mentioned seeing a dramatic increase of attacks coming out of Iran. So I'm wondering if anybody else has seen this.
I heard of it, but haven't seen it.
Great to bring up. Just IP based. They're seeing it, Leron. They're identifying it from that perspective.
Repeat the question, please. I missed it.
Are they just from a geolocation perspective? Is that how they're identifying?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Interesting. And did they go into any specifics, Leron, in terms of type of attack?
They were in the EDU, like public community type sector, and they were getting hammered pretty hard, and 1 out of 10 were breached.
Like passwords,
Wow.
Leron, or brute force attacks. So what was the construct of it? Did they tell you?
No, we didn't get into it. Like they were going through it while we were like on the call, so I didn't really want to poke the open wound in the middle of the call.
Okay.
I'm sure there's an amount that's coming from Iran. Is there possible that people are just taking advantage of the opportunity and making it look like they're coming from Iran as well?
Certainly a reasonable theory.
Yeah, I noticed several of the, sites like like the leak sites, some things sort of popping up over the past couple of weeks, in that sort of area. But yeah, it could be possible.
Well, it's going to be their easy if they are doing it, certainly, right, Chip? It's way easier than starting a kinetic war. Then you can get a lot of quick hits, and especially if you want to target governments and municipalities. So for certain. Interestingly, I forget the article I was reading, Chip, but there was something to the degree of one of the major departments here was lobbying for. I'll have to find the article. I digress, but recognizing and admitting the antiquated infrastructure that and proposing bills in local governments, and so others, anyone else? No? All right. So Gary, can I lean on you, my friend, to talk about what you found, and this is kind of like a part two, if you will, of you worked with this customer that didn't listen to you,
Well,
compromised, and
this has nothing to do with the breach.
No. I just meant, but it was the process of you getting, wanting to have better, EDR, telemetry, etc.
Wow. So again, nothing to do with the breach. We've set out, and over the last week or so, we're in the process of migrating from Sentinel-1 to Huntress. So it's a pain in the ass, as you might expect. Pushing out agents is easy, but getting the uninstallers to work is not always reliable. In theory, we should be able to go to the portal for Sentinel-1 or Webroot in this case, and click on their little menu and say uninstall agent. And it probably works 40, 50, maybe 60% of the time. But we found that some agents just didn't respond properly. So I got on with their tech support. And in this case, it was through PAX 8. And we looked at a couple of examples and we tried something. He said, let's download the agent. And he gave me a command line to remove the agent. And basically, in this case, we're just essentially running the regular installer with a -C, which is supposed to be clean install, which the intent is to remove the agent and allow you to reinstall it. And what I kind of realized is, well, wait a minute, there's no command line options here. And when you actually run it from the command line with that -C option, it just removes the agent. Now, so my concern clearly here is from a threat actor standpoint, and I don't usually think like the bad guys, but this vulnerability is huge in the sense that if somebody has access to the machine, because I tried to run it via script and I couldn't get it to work through the ConnectWise RMM, but ultimately, we connect through Screen Connect, open up a command prompt, download the installer -C, Sentinel-1's gone. And there are some machines where it comes up, says, you got to do this in safe mode. And in that case, if you give it the site key code and the device uninstall code on that same command line, it will uninstall normally. But I was very disturbed that Sentinel-1 on any of the machines was able to be removed without any sort of a key code.
Gary, and just to anecdotal, and I love Chip's analysis and chime in here, Chip, but obviously, that's pretty much what a threat actor would do is install some type of living off the land remote control system, and right, Chip, that would be kind of protocol once they get access.
Yeah, absolutely. Be the first thing I do if I was a hacker.
Yeah, well, I still don't know how they did it, but in the breach that we kind of referred to a minute ago that I talked about over the last couple of weeks, the threat actor, although the threat actor did nothing on any of the workstations, they did remove webroot from all of the workstations, and we still never found out through the forensics how that happened. Because I'm certainly having a harder time removing webroot also, but that's a different problem.
You said, Gary, Sentinel-1, wasn't it part of the issue they had where if you would go to upgrade at that particular moment, it killed everything and you were able to uninstall?
Yes, I believe that was part of what was published a little while
earlier
ago,
in the year.
Was it that? Yeah, if you ran the uninstaller, you could interrupt the installer and kill it at this point. But this is their own installer with their own command line.
So basically the glitch was you could trick it to want to update, and at that point uninstall it. That was the glitch they discovered.
Yeah.
Originally in January.
Agreed. So, just food for thought. I have not yet reported it to them. I'm gonna, maybe you're right that this is part of it, but my understanding was, Enrique, that was a timing problem where if you were on the machine during the install while it was killing the services, you could then kill the installer or do something to interrupt what it was doing, as opposed to in this case, a planned removal by their installer with no checks, no safety checks.
Gary, did they say any reason why you couldn't do everything from the portal? Like you were saying, I'm the administrator, why shouldn't I be able to?
Oh, no, you can. And it works some of the time or most of the time. Sentinel-1 is better than webroot, but there's some of them that, after an hour or multiple tries that just doesn't come off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you issue the command, you've got to wait for the agent to check in, and it should trigger the uninstall. But sometimes it just doesn't do it.
Got it.
I'm assuming that /C requires local admin to perform what you're talking about.
I would assume so. When we connect via Screen Connect, we by default are in an administrative login, so probably.
Yeah, so that'd be my, probably. My assumption with anyone that has local admin is that they can defeat the local AV almost. I think that's usually what those come back to. Even with the tamper protection, I can't assume that will work.
I mean, our own data our own Datto EDR, if you're not running Datto AV, the only way to get tamper protection on Datto EDR is running Datto AV as well. If you're just running Datto EDR, running with Defender for Business or Defender for Windows, Datto EDR does not have tamper protection.
Really?
And that to me, oh yeah, that to me was shocking.
Chip, any closing thoughts on this from somebody that's done a lot of programming in their life?
I mean, I think Gary's initial comment in that thread, Andrew, when you sent it to me, that, you know, my God, there should be some kind of an uninstall code that's required. If not for each unique instance, certainly for you know, anybody in the same organization. I think that would be useful. I do think, Gary, I don't know what you thought of the suggestions I made to actually just lock that down so an end user couldn't even attempt an uninstall.
Well, but the honest answer, well, we're moving off of the platform, which is why
Yeah.
I'm uninstalling the agents. So yeah, if we were
Yeah,
keeping
it doesn't matter to you now, but you can apply that same logic to anything else that you want to
Agreed.
protect.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
S1 does have policies to block that you need a token to uninstall. They do have a policy for that.
And our
The
policies are
glitch
set up
is-
to do that. Some of them, when we run that dash C option, come back and say, and this is probably 5 or 10%. Some of them come back and say, you have to do it in safe mode. And at that point, if you give it the full token and site code with whatever options there are, dash T or dash K, it will then uninstall in that same session if you give it the codes. Interesting, it has the wrong message, but you know, that does work around that problem. So the logic is there, but in some instances, because all of our sites are programmed the same way because we inherit our settings, so they should all have that same tamper protection. That would be my expectation. So.
All right. Gary, thank you as always for sharing. Hope that was helpful for some folks out there.
Anytime.
All right. Adam, is he with us?
I am.
Good to see you, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, posing a question. This resulted from a discussion Amanda, Liron, and I had the other day, where we have a connection in our product that we call our Microsoft 1.0 connection, which is what we launched with originally. And we moved over to the 2.0 Microsoft connection. And there's still some stragglers left over that have not moved to the 2.0. And we were trying to figure out, how do we get the word out to have that happen, to encourage you all to do it if you are in that small group of people who have not moved over yet. And so we discussed having a pop-up at login, which is kind of an obvious answer. But I had pitched the idea of any partner who has a PSA or an email connection set up to us, that we could send in a ticket that says, you need to do this. And Liron said, do you think our MSPs really want another ticket in their system? And my argument was, as an MSP owner, that's where work gets done. So if I actually want my techs to go and do the thing, it's going to start as a ticket anyway. So I kind of pose it to you all. I'm looking for the dissenters for us not to do this, for things that are breaking changes or things that are very relevant within our platform. So I'm not talking about marketing things like, hey, we have a new feature coming out, but things that are actually relevant to the functionality of the product.
You're asking me want a ticket for that?
100%.
Gary,
Yeah,
can you go again, Gary, and then
I'm
Enrique,
sorry.
and then
Yeah, I said
Okay,
I'm
Gary.
for it 100%. If there's something that you email me as the primary admin that I ignore. If if I'm hooked up to your ticketing system, give me a ticket. One of my guys will look at it and just do it. You know, I think especially if we're putting the quality of the response or the quality of the product in jeopardy because we don't have the right connectors, authentication, or something's broken, that's the way to get it fixed, 100%.
Okay, Enrique.
Yes, definitely. That's something I hunted Ben down since managed services. And finally, like if an API breaks, I get a text message on certain things, but there's still some other connections that break and I don't get alerted. And to me, like I've said since day one, SaaS alerts becomes useless when the API connection is broken. It doesn't exist. So that to me is even worse than someone getting breached because you're leaving the door open for respond not to work. So that to me, definitely 100%.
Okay. Is there anybody
And
who
then,
disagrees?
well, I think Stephen was going to say, so I heard Stephen also, I thought, say something. No,
Oh,
Stephen?
I was just gonna agree. I think that's, yeah, similar to a, integration issue, and be good to know.
What if it's a highly encouraged change rather than a it's broken or affecting functionality?
Also,
I would exaggerate the tone of the message. We need you to get this done.
Or maybe,
Zach,
or
this would
maybe,
be, this would likely, I see your message in here, Zach, of would this be one ticket per portal or per org? I have my opinion on that, but I'd love to hear yours.
I mean,
what would you want that?
if it was per org, obviously that would probably flood our board, which is fine because I'll definitely, that'll get my attention. But I mean, for us, per portal would be easier, I think, but it really wouldn't make a big deal either way. As long as it was something where it's, this connection needs to be fixed for performance purposes, for monitoring purposes, something like that. I mean, as it is, any sort of issue with monitoring capabilities from our end, that's something that I prioritize for all of our partners to make sure that they're on top of it and let them know about it. Granted, sometimes they don't reply back to us anyways, and I can't get a hold of them, but at least we're doing our part to try to get a hold of them any way we can. So
Yeah, so let me think about like when I ran my MSP, what my workflow would be. My techs are going to need to log time, and that time is going to be allocated to whatever organization the issue is about. So as much as I hate to say let me throw 30 tickets in, one for each org, as far as time entry and billing and accountability goes, I think one per org makes sense. But on the flip side, for less noise, I think a single ticket with all of the organizations referenced in the body is nicer. And that's an interesting thought, is like, which way do we go with that?
Is there any potential challenges, Adam, just about play devil's advocate on change control and audit and trail, et cetera, that some people would be resident to not receive the ticket? Granted, more work.
I agree with you, Adam, as far as if multiple organizations break at the same time. One ticket letting us know with the list of organizations that API connection is broken would be good, but and we have had times when, well, I don't know if exactly at the same moment they break, but I log in, I'll see 2-3 organizations disconnected. So at that point, I think one ticket, if they happen at the same time, one ticket listing the orgs could be good.
Yeah.
That functionality is probably not, well, it may change, but that's not specifically the one I'm talking about. So those API connection broke for this particular app, for this particular org, will continue for now to continue to be separate, and one per connection, one per org. The item that I'm talking about more is, hey, you've got 100 orgs and 30 of them need to have something done to them because we need you to upgrade or just reconnect the connection. Would those go one ticket?
Yeah, for me, one ticket listing all
One
the
ticket.
orgs.
Yeah. Like we have somebody who's scheduled to review the board, all of our tickets, and some of that is board hygiene or portal hygiene. And if we have to go through the orgs, so be it.
Yeah. So my worst case scenario here is that I have half of the people saying per org and half of the people saying per tenant. So
Don't care.
that means
If
I
it's
got to
something
check
we have to
box
do per
now.
tenant, it's fine. It's we try not to. I guess part of it depends on how long the action takes. If it's like re-authenticating, where it's a couple of minutes, we try not to get down to that level of detail sometimes.
Yeah.
But Gary, I think the commonality for everybody, right, Gary, is that everybody wants a ticket.
Yeah.
But whether you put them all together, whether there's 10 tickets, Adam, or one ticket, I think the commonality is that everybody's thumbs up on tickets.
Okay. All right. That's good feedback. Liron, did you have any other additional items before we ratify that?
No, I'm just want to be thankful for you guys for, we had a question. Whenever questions like this come up, when we have a tie, our tiebreaker is always this community. So thank you.
Awesome.
And so which way did it lean?
Tickets. Right?
Yeah, I mean, really the initial one was just ticket or not ticket. And then I introduced the org or partner one on this call, which is an interesting perspective as well.
So Sam's posing a UI UX thing, Adam, that you could have a setting to toggle which one you want. What are your?
Yeah, I think that this type of alert happens so infrequently in our platform that I think going through the effort to make a UI toggle for this, once a year thing might be a big ask or a big lift, but definitely go back and think about how else we can use this notification system and whether it's makes sense to go put the work in to put a toggle in.
Well, appreciate you guys always bringing stuff to the community, Adam, Liron, and getting their feedback. All right. Got a few things to run through in my 12 minutes here. As always, Chip and I have our banter each week. Chip, I don't know if you've seen more of these, but what's old is new, and we've got. I don't know if you guys have seen the DocuSigns are back in terms of phishing, but this is one that's out there. Is anybody seeing a lot more of these recently?
Actually, I haven't seen one in a while. I was getting them a couple of months ago, but I don't think I've been getting lots of random invoices with JPEGs and some of those, but not this.
Okay.
I just got that one this morning.
Did you, John?
Yep.
Yeah. Interestingly, on pictures, there is a I was going to tell everybody this, and I'll just anecdotally, if you want to search for it, there is a malware going around right now that is being in the was a Play Store and iOS. I'm trying to remember the app, but that is looking at reading all of your photos and things of that nature. Looking for it was interesting, Chip. I don't know if you read that one, but it was about they referenced wanting that for crypto information, like log information, like being able when like looking at all your photos and then giving, like, in essence, hints for what passwords would be based on your photos.
Wow.
It was an interesting one.
That is an interesting one. The ones I've been seeing a ton of lately, Andrew, are they look like a PayPal invoice. Like in the past week, a bunch of these, and I hadn't before. So, but they're really funny. I mean, it looks great, but as soon as you start reading through it, you can tell that the person that put it together is just like, okay, you need a lot more coaching from your AI on how to construct a scam for a native English speaker.
Very true. Enrique, is your hand still up for something else, or?
I forgot, did we speak at all last week? Or maybe I didn't even make the call last week. I don't remember about that data breach that had a whole bunch of like billions of accounts that
The
came
biggest
out.
data breach of all time. Think that one.
Talking about
Yeah,
all the
We didn't-
passwords, Enrique?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we really addressed it. What are your thoughts on it, Enrique?
Well, that's why I wanted to get feedback because I didn't dig
Yeah.
into it. I just saw everybody share it and share it and share it through WhatsApp
Yeah.
and social media.
And it was like this, it wasn't one database chip. Did you see this one? It was, they were pointing to multiple. What was your take on that?
I mean, if you honestly, I thought it was more of a nothing burger and almost, kind of clickbaity for news. It's
Yeah.
all stuff that's been shared before that was aggregated up into another big file. It's not like it was a mountain of new information. So, I mean, what's the point at this stage of the game if you're not protecting everything that you log into with some kind of multi-factor authentication? With the power of compute these days, if you're relying on a username and a single password, you're going to get brute forced anyway. It literally almost doesn't matter.
And chip with the number of data breaches, we have to assume all our passwords are
Yeah,
somewhere.
absolutely.
100%, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't rely on just the password to secure anything
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, it
Well,
reminded me
And
to
like
go
a
and
blind,
check the credit freezes and make sure those were still on, stuff like that. But yeah, it's
Chip, have you gone
gonna
to
be
phishing
expected.
resistant? Yeah, good, Steven. Great. Chip, have you gone to phishing resistant? Do you do FIDO?
Oh yeah,
Yours?
we went to
Yeah.
FIDO a long time ago.
Okay. Okay. Just want to run through this real quick. I talked about this briefly last week. I'm using this as kind of I'm joking around, clickbait. No, but I did a thing this past week on ISO 42001. Are you guys first off familiar with that, Chip? Are you familiar with the ISO 42001 at all? Are you guys going to do? It's not voluntary, but just real quick, everyone. I think this is one of the best or voluntary frameworks around use AI and use of AI, and I'm going to show you some of it. But have you guys looked into it at all? Getting certified on it, Chip? Just out of
We
curiosity.
have not yet. We are maintaining our ISO 27001, and now we are deep down the rabbit hole on CMMC. We are
Okay.
just about to go through our independent audit for CMMC 2, which is quite a bit of a journey beyond CMMC 1, which is just a self-certification. But our goal is to have SaaS alerts independently certified to CMMC 3 by the end of the year, so that we can tackle the requests we're getting more and more of, which is offer a SaaS alerts platform on GCC High for government and military.
Will that pass like FedRAMP if it's there?
Oh
Chip?
yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. That's pretty exciting, actually. That opens you up to the Summit 7s of the world and organizations like that, probably, that have been requesting it there.
That's the goal.
Awesome. Okay. So let me just kind of set the stage here. So we had this, echo leak. Not sure if you saw this one, Chip, but this vulnerability in Copilot. And I started looking at it a little bit deeper, and it sets the stage really well for a business conversation, like a BCISO conversation around AI and AI readiness with your customer. Because if you look at the attack, and kind of dig in a little bit, it actually is a command injection attack. And what that means is, I'll just run through it real quick here, that the attacker basically can send in a command through an email and ask Copilot for information. And in turn, Copilot was responding. And now it was validated by the researcher, but it hadn't been actually exploited. So, and then when you look at it in terms of, there's a really good graphic here of how the payload works and how it's triggered, etc. I can put the article in here for you, but they talk about, how it works, the injection, what it asks for, etc. What's interesting about this is if you look at the ISO 42001 framework, the first thing, it looks at is, identifying the needs, goals, and feasibility. And, you go through this, these questions. I'm going to show you some of it, but let me just jump real quick here to something that I thought was really interesting from a threat perspective. Chip, you've heard of PASTA and Stride and all these threat modeling things. And this isn't meant to be highfalutin and impress anybody. But what was really interesting is when you look at the threat model around AI models, it's the second one, right? That it literally spells out what happened in the Copilot vulnerability was this malicious prompt injection. So, Chip, did you see this at all? And any thoughts on it?
I mean, I didn't see the previous article that you were talking about. I mean, I've read about prompt injection attacks as more of a theoretical possibility. I need to dig into the specific Copilot thing here with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't dug into that. I haven't seen it pop up.
Okay.
So, but that makes me awfully nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, we're concerned about it because we're using AI systems a lot inside SaaS alerts and increasingly inside Kaseya.
Yep.
So we have an
Yeah.
entire, group in the legal department now that is doing nothing but chasing after these potential issues from a compliance standpoint. And like everything else in AI, it's evolving at light speed.
Right. Right. So I'll just run through why I think this is a really interesting model. And again, if you go to the Cyber Call YouTube, we actually went through this using AI, ISO 42001 as a means to drive business conversations with your customers. And when you look at the life cycle around AI governance, there's some really good questions that you can pose to your customers that are very business centric around it. There's a multitude of clauses. The first three clauses are really around, I didn't put them here because they're around the scope. They reference a bunch of ISO standards, and then the third is around definitions. But I put together a few questions that map to each clause of the ISO 42001. So if Gary, you walked into a customer or a prospect, like, yeah, we're thinking about using Copilot, or Gary, what are your thoughts on us using AI in our company? Then you can go through literally a mapping of questions right to the different sections of ISO 42001, starting off with, are you currently using it? How are you thinking about using it? Will there be any oversight in how you're going to use it? Which is, I think, probably one of the most important questions that most businesses, right, Chip, in the SMB space, probably aren't going to ask, right, in terms of their usage of it. I know we're at the top of the hour, but what part would be the most damaging, right? And then one of the things that I think is really important, I'll close with this, and again, I can certainly share this with Ben and the team, but really around what's your contracts look like with your customers. So Gary, you're an MSP talking to a big customer of yours, asking that customer about their biggest customers. What does it say about data use, data handling, breach notification, right, of their relationship with their customers? So anyway, I thought the incident with the Echo leak was something that you could really spur conversation, because most people are going to look at Copilot in our industry, being a Microsoft centric industry. So would this be helpful for you guys if we kind of get a little bit deeper into this next week, and look at using this framework from a questionnaire perspective and driving conversation?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say yes. That's
In 2
relevant.
weeks. In 2 weeks, you're gonna have a light audience next week.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Idea.
You'll be, yeah.
Andrew, before everybody jumps off, I just want to make a quick open request. We're looking for 5 or maybe a half dozen at most volunteers that can do some testing for something new that we're looking at. I can't, it's in double secret probation, non-disclosure land. So anybody who wants to volunteer, shoot me an email, chip@saasalerts.com. This is not like we're going to turn you on to something and you can kick your tires for 10 minutes and turn around and buzz off. This will require some real engagement. But I think will be worthwhile for those people who want to participate. So it will require NDAs and all that kind of stuff, but we've got some new stuff brewing that I want to do some field testing with, specifically with this crew, just because you guys show so much engagement.
Awesome. So Matt, message you, Chip, or Ben, if they're interested.
Just message me directly. Ben doesn't even know about this. Neither does Leron.
Oh.
Just
Well,
email
no,
me.
Leron does. Sorry, I take that back. Leron knows everything. Sorry, Ben. There are some things you don't know.
I talk too much, so it's okay.
All right.
Everybody have a fantastic week. We'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Take care. Be safe.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.